seem right. Hold on 1 second, guys. Yeah, that's not the right microphone. 1 sec, guys. Okay. There we go. How's it going, guys? I'll go sit down and shut up. Hope you guys can hear me okay now, because apparently I'm terrible at tech stuff for someone who works in the industry. Anyway, hope you guys doing well this wonderful Saturday morning. Well, it's morning for me anyway. Today we have Rackle. Let's bring him on. Hey, Rackle, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Okay, perfect. I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good. It's a morning for me, but and I think it works out timing wise. Since are you East Coast? I'm assuming.
Yes, yeah, I'm East Coast.
Perfect. All right, cool. So welcome on. So tell me a little bit more about what you've been kind of struggling. I know you put a blurb in on the. You sent me some stuff. You put a blurb in the
hmm
queue, and you're talking about kind of a long list of things. But if you had to pick maybe one or two things that you think you struggle with, or at least you think that's been impacting your gameplay the most, what do you think those would be?
Um, that's a honestly that's a bit of a hard question to ask.
Okay.
I will say I think one of the things that I've been struggling with, because actually the replays that I sent you, I actually took my own notes on them, and I noticed that I made a lot of very risky decisions, which
Hmm.
I think is just pretty common for like, the elo that I'm at. Um, so I was making a lot of risky decisions, and in general, my reactions are not that great. Um, Maybe those might be the worst issues that I have, but
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure. Because
Okay.
again, I sent you like that really long list, so I wasn't entirely sure.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So are you said you were in like the 1400s now, right? Is that right? I mean,
Uh,
before reset.
right before reset, I ended at 1393,
Okay.
so I was kind of like going back and forth between that and like maybe like 1420.
Sure. Sure.
So
Yeah. If most folks have like a kind of a 50 MR range that they kind of
mhm.
oscillate between. So like,
Yeah,
you if you're like 1400 ish, you'll be like 1450 one day, 1350 the next day, and it goes back and forth, right? And that's kind of the grind we all go through. Okay, cool.
right. Yeah.
So um, I kind of have an idea. I think we
Mhm.
might have played once, like
Yeah,
ever,
yeah, I think one time.
maybe one time. So I kind of have an idea. But
Mhm,
what we'll do for this is we'll run a first to three. So I'll get you a custom room, play a first to three, kind of get a sense of like what are the things maybe you're struggling with. Does it line up with
mhm,
what you're telling me now, or is there something else going on, or whatever? So I'll try to get an idea of that. After that, we can go into a replay review. So we'll take a
mhm,
look at one of our games that we played, as well as one of the games that you sent me. So you sent me a couple of replays. We'll probably
mhm,
grab one of those and kind of go through that.
mhm,
Um, After that, if there's anything specific that we want to look at, we can hop into the lab, right? Take a look at any specific situations that I think maybe would help highlight a point or two that would help you. And then afterwards, if there's time and you're up for it, we can run it back, run another first three, see if anything I talked about might have helped or not. So if that all sounds good, I think so. Your CFN is just Rackle, is that right?
Yes, that's
Okay, let
correct.
me get you in a custom room. Let me create a room
Mhm,
here. All right. Oh, that's set to first to five. All right, so you should get the invite. Go ahead and hop into any slot when you're ready. I do deafen during this portion, mostly because I talk a lot during this section, if you will. So
mhm,
if you look at the VOD later on, and if you decide to look at that, you can see what my thoughts were during our set. Also, I may not rematch right away, meaning the timer might run down to like 1 or 2 seconds. Again, it's just because I'm articulating thoughts and all that stuff. So don't worry, I'm still here. I didn't leave or
Yeah.
anything. But yeah, so if you're ready, I'm going indefinite and good luck.
Oh,
Yep.
really quick, I'm probably also gonna try to take some notes as well,
Hmm.
just to see, if what I'm noticing is similar to what you're noticing.
Sure.
So I might, I might also take a while to rematch.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we'll just run the first three. Shouldn't be a problem, and then we can. I guess we can compare notes after. So good luck.
Okay.
Bagel with the sub. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. This is how I realize I've never unsubbed from you. 17 months. Dude, I appreciate that. Not gonna lie to you. All right, so Rackle, I think I played them maybe once, like I was saying. It was like a lobby night or something. So let's see what's going on. They said they struggle with like risky decisions and some general things, but let's see. That wasn't too bad. Go for immediate command throw. Okay, fair enough. Okay, seems to be pretty reliant on whip, right? Or fireballs. Maybe not super comfortable in the mid screen. Oh, that was unfortunate. Okay, so Cruel Fate that whiffed. Put them in a position where they weren't able to come back. So again, what I'm seeing right now is that I think like the range that they're comfortable at is outside of like her sort of stand medium kick range. Doesn't tech, which is good. Probably go for like a slide here, right? Oh, still doesn't. No reaction. Oops. Still no tech. Oh, nice D-rev. Okay, whiffed button. Okay, so immediately what I'm thinking right now mostly has to do with sort of being a little uncomfortable in neutral inside of Aki's stand medium kick range, right? So like Aki does a lot of her work inside of that range. Outside of it, you get bubble into drive rush, right? So like that's really strong. Don't get me wrong. I think that's a really good tool to use. But if I stand like here, there's like chain, right? So like I think like they are more comfortable at this range. But if I start getting to here, like this range, I think they have a hard time playing a little bit of that neutral game. See how they're backing up? Like they want to play outside of stand medium kick range. Ooh. Oops. So they don't tech, right? So let's see. Oh, now they tech. So now I'm in trouble, right? Yeah. So, at the time I just got him with a delay button at a drive rush, right? Because they started teching. But yeah, again, I think like the main issue right now for them is how do I play the game when my opponent is standing at a range where I can't fireball and whip. Right? You see how like kind of their main tool is to use that whip to keep me out. But if I stand inside of that, like this, see how I'm just kind of pushing them back with one button here? And a lot of that, again, has to do with just not really being comfortable in that spacing. Otherwise, I think their defense is actually pretty good. They like to use the medium to keep me out, huh? Okay. Oh, that's pretty good. Uh-oh. Oh. I totally misread what that was. Oh, okay. Can answer error. Went for that throw one too many times, I think. And then corner defense wise, the unfair neutral aspect, right? I think a lot of folks do struggle with that, especially when they can't back up anymore. Again, I really think that their current kind of their main thing, I guess against me in particular, is the neutral game outside of that stand medium kick range. Oops. I think they might have taken too long to get back on. let me bring them back on. Let's see. We can probably go one more. There we go. All right. So it's 2-1 or 2-0, right? So we'll probably run one more and then we'll bring them back on. Also, hopefully I changed my pop filter, so hopefully it still sounds okay. I haven't really tested it all that much. The older pop filter was giving me like, for whatever reason, if you watch other streams like recently, I've been really scratching my nose a lot, and I think it was because of the pop filter. Checking out. So one of the things that's kind of annoying, maybe not annoying, but like for Aki, her drive rush fireball drivers, like OD fireball into drive rush, is that it really incentivizes me to derev, right? Gotta get like, just like right here against it, like right against my face here. Okay, they're blocking a lot more, which is good. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, so I really do think, again, that it just has to do with kind of being uncomfortable when someone is inside of crouching medium period. So if I stand back here, right, I think they're totally fine, right? And I didn't realize that was going to work. I just kind of sent that. All right. Oh. Oh, I was like downtown. Okay. So I thought they did some good anti-airs the few times I did jump. Again, I do think that the issue is that they are uncomfortable with pressing buttons in mid-screen. So let's bring it back on. Hey, Rackle, what'd you think?
Okay, so there were a couple of times where I tried throwing out my light lash. That's like the go-to. In fact, that might be something that you might catch um in one of the replays that we go over. I kind of got caught getting counter hit because I was pressing light lash, I think at a range where I shouldn't have. I probably was like a little too close to you to be throwing it out, which is something that I do. I noticed in the very first, hang on, there's some background noise. I should have muted my TV. I noticed in the very first game in round one, I almost had it, and then I was in the corner, and then I did OD Cruel Fate, which I didn't have a reason to do,
Mm-hmm.
and that led to you getting a punish counter when I was like on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
and um like that lost me the round, and I was just like, oh my god, I could have at least taken one round from that. There were a few times where I didn't space my normals properly,
Mm-hmm.
especially like the crouch medium kick, and you managed to get me. um Another thing, and you noticed that I did this but I just kept on doing it, is that I kept on getting caught, like, trying to slither out of the corner,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't spending the meter to slither out, which is generally what you're supposed to do, but I can be very stingy with meter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I got caught a few times, or, like, you would just wait for me to be on the other side of you and then immediately throw me back into the corner.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It can be tough to tech from that position because
yeah.
you're gonna eat a punish, right? Like a fat punish. So
Yeah,
okay.
and to be honest, I was actually trying to be careful with not delay teching,
Mm-hmm.
because I know, that's not something you're supposed to do, but I was doing it a bit too much in the corner. It's like you were able to tell that I was about to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
that was like the thing. That's what I have so far, but
Okay.
I probably should have actually tried typing the notes because it was taking me forever to write.
It's tough because the timer is only 10 seconds, right? And then when it
Yeah.
when it ended, I was like, oh, they're probably taking their notes or whatever. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think I agree with all the points you made. I do think that you did notice a lot of that stuff. What I
Mhm.
will say is that most of it stems from you being uncomfortable when I'm inside or standing at Aki's stand medium kick range. So
Mhm.
when we were playing, if you notice, when I'm standing at like a range where you could fireball or you could lash, like the whip, like light whip or
Mhm.
whatever,
Yeah.
or those things where you have like maybe a dive approach or something like that, it seemed like you were very comfortable. Meaning like, you didn't feel like you had to back up or anything. You felt like you were kind of maybe not in control, but you weren't losing, right? You know what I mean? Like you weren't on defense or anything, like you felt comfortable there. But as soon as I
Mhm.
started walking forward, there was a point where I think you were kind of like, oh, what do I do when they're this close? When do I press? When do I not press? Like, what's the
Mhm.
actual, maybe not solution is the right term, but like, what am I quote unquote supposed to be doing, right? Like, how do I deal with that? And then a lot of times, what ended up happening, or at least in one of the games, what ended up happening was you kind of started to just block, which is fine. But then you also started backing up, and I was just kind of throwing stand heavy punch after stand heavy punch after stand heavy punch, and it kind of put you in the corner, right? And then from
Mhm.
there, it was like, well, how do I get out of this corner? Do I tech? Do I jump? Do I slither? Like, what do I do from there, right? And then that kind of got you to the point where I could kind of just do tick throw, maybe not tick throw because it's not plus, but like, jab into throw and like shimmies and try to space you out when you try to take your turn, right? Try to do that. So I think that was kind of the main thing. But a lot of the points you're talking about like, oh, am I using whip too close, or am I not able to get out of the corner, all that stuff, it really does come from, I think, for you at the level you're at right now, and from what I noticed in the game, it just comes from like, how do I play the neutral game, right? Because to be honest, I thought your defense was actually quite good, right? You were able to kind of navigate the situations I was putting you in to a point where at least you were standing up and weren't guessing anymore on an Oki, right? You were actually able to stand up. Maybe you can't play neutral because you can't back up anymore, but at least you have a chance from there, right? As opposed to
Mhm.
being knocked down, having to guess strike throw, getting blown up by a shimmy like that, right? So let me bring up one of our games here. I'm sharing my screen in Discord so we can kind of go over it together
Yes.
here. If you can, let me know if you can see that. So let me just grab
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
these
I
games
have it
here.
pulled up.
Okay, cool.
I will say I do think that part of the reason why I was playing a bit more cautious with you, because I am a bit more reckless when I'm playing around my own level, is
Hmm.
that I know that you have a level of familiarity with the game, so it's like I can't get away with certain things. And
Hmm.
because of that punish counter that happened in that very first round of the very first game, I'm like, oh God, I don't even want to even try to like challenge anything.
Well, what's funny about that is that no matter who your opponent is, you can try things, right?
Mhm.
there's never anything wrong with like throwing it out every once in a while, right? Because for all you
Mhm.
know, I can't react to it, right? For all you know, I can't deal with it either, right? Or it could be like a knowledge check, right? Like no matter how
Mhm.
high level I am, there may be something that I've never seen from Aki before that then you do it, and I don't know how to deal with it, right? Like that's 100% possible in the realm, wherever, right? Like if you were to walk into your local tomorrow and you have no idea who the person sitting next to you is, like, you try things, right? Do things like
Right.
and you'll know, right? So if something happens and I'm able to deal with it, that's totally different. Okay, now they know how to deal with it, then maybe you don't do it. But if I can't deal with it, then keep doing it, right? So
Oh my
this.
God.
Hmm?
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just thought of a couple of other things that I did notice,
Hmm.
but these are like Aki specific things. So I did manage to get a couple of counter hit crouch medium kicks,
Hmm.
and there's a very important link that she has off of that that I not only have I not labbed it enough, but I think another part of it is like I struggle to even recognize that situation happening, and
Hmm.
I could have gone into a combo that could have given me Oki, but like it didn't even register.
Yeah.
So I just did the wrong thing. And then I kept on doing stand heavy kick into the stance kicks or stand heavy kick into command grab.
Hmm.
And like I only got you with the command grab, I think one time. So I was like, all right, I don't really have a block string off of this. So probably learning another block string as well.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do remember.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Didn't mean to. I was just agreeing with what you're
Oh no, 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 that's
saying.
sorry. That
Yeah.
was what I just
Okay.
remembered that I didn't write down, but I noticed in the match.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. So let's talk about that really briefly. So like counter hit
Mhm,
confirms in general, right? It is something you do have to lab out, mostly for the reaction, right? So like
mhm,
me personally, when I do counter hit confirms, there's a couple of things that go through my mind. the first thing is like the pure reaction, right? So like for me, I hit confirm using the hit sparks, right? So like, you know, when you hit somebody, the sparks are orange instead of blue, and then on the counter hit there's a badge, right? So I think you see my mouse. There's a
Right.
badge that shows up on the side here, right? So that's how I confirm. The second thing is that situationally, right? So in situations where I know I'm plus, or I know it's a situation where I could potentially get a counter hit, that's when my brain is kind of primed to look for the counter hit, right? So like Oki situation where I'm plus, it's a frame, it's potentially a frame check, right? I mean, I know maybe not something Aki specific here, but in general, right? I have plus frames on Oki, I can frame trap, right? That's when my brain is primed to look for the counter hit confirm or counter hit and then confirm from there, right? Because I'm already ready to confirm it. Raw hit confirming, like raw counter hit confirms and punish counters in neutral, is a little bit tougher because your brain isn't quite ready for that. You're raw reacting to something that may or may not happen, right? It can be hard.
Right.
So that's something you may need to just drill
Mhm.
in the lab. But as far as like, you know, maximizing damage and all that stuff, it is kind of important, and I think you're at a level now where that is going to be important because the openings you're getting may not come as often anymore. So it is something worth doing. But it is for me a mechanic. It's an exercise in mechanical skill, right? Being able to just react to that, getting used to reacting to that, and then recognizing situations where those things could happen, right? So, again, I'm not too worried about the mechanical stuff. Like, you seem like a
Mhm.
person that likes to lab and likes to understand these things. So, you know, I'm sure you'll be able to find an Aki main who'll be able to give you a much better perspective on those specifics. But
Mhm.
when it comes to mechanical things and raw reactions and all that stuff, I'm generally not too worried because like I'm kind of old, so my reaction time is not that great. A lot of like what I do is based off like game state, right? So like, oh, I see this specific situation, one of three things might happen, and that's what I'm trying to react to, right? As opposed to trying to raw react to everything. Right? I'm not built that way, unfortunately. So that all said, what I'm showing on screen here should be game two. So this was after the unfortunate leap that whiffed. So this is game two. So let's take a look at what happens here, right? So I think I was talking about it on stream, and if you look at the VOD, you see it here. This is when I had noticed that your kind of default range is this, right? This
Uh-huh.
is, I think, where you feel the most comfortable in terms of gameplay, right? Now, is that true? Is that not true? Is that, am I kind of off base here? What do you think about that statement?
Yeah, I would say the range that I like to I guess just play around in is this one. I didn't do it too much in our set because I've noticed that I do this, but I do sometimes like to use crouch heavy kick as a poke because it's a really good poke,
Hmm.
but um I would say somewhere between the range of Aki's crouch heavy kick and the light lash. That's probably I guess that would be a range that I'm comfortable with.
Okay.
Some
Okay.
kind of range that I can reliably fireball drive rush.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's really what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just about to say that this is like a similar range where you can throw an OD fireball drivers behind it, and I have to deal with that, right? Whatever that looks
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
So I had noticed it on stream when I said it on stream, I was like, well, I think this is about the range where they feel the most comfortable, right? Because if you look at your gameplay from here, I'll let this play out for a few seconds here. Pay attention to the space between us, right? And you can kind of see
Okay.
how much that gets manipulated, right? So you saw like I was kind of intentionally standing, and I will say that part of this when I do this, I do kind of try to test certain things from opponents. So I just wanted to see what you would do in that scenario, and you can
Mhm.
see that you were very comfortable, right? At least that's what I was sensing from the game, is that you're totally okay being at this range, waiting for me to make a mistake potentially, or you could just fireball drive rush, right? Like, okay, you know what? I think he's not ready. I'm gonna fireball drive rush, right? And then what happens here after a few seconds of this is I start doing this, right? I start walking forward into this spacing here, right? So
Mhm.
here's the space we were at, and then here's the space we're at now, right? So this is inside of Ken's stand heavy kick range, right? And inside of Aki's stand medium kick range, right? Which I think is one of her primary buttons, besides like the crouching heavy kick, I think is the other one. But
Mhm.
um, this is kind of a range where I felt like you were a little more apprehensive. You're a little uncomfortable because from here, your primary neutral tools don't work anymore, right? Don't work in a sense where it's like if you try it, you'll get hit, right? Right.
Like that.
Like that. And here you pressed, right? So you're trying to get
Yes.
me, trying to get out of it. So I just preempt you, right? So basically, what is happening here is that I'm standing at a spacing that is kind of inducing you to do things and then
Mhm.
taking advantage of that, right? So like I just walk up and press, right? And the reason this works is because as I'm getting closer, you recognize that you're like, oh, I think Juzzy's standing a little too close. I want to press a button to keep them out. But you recognize it a little too late, and I just send my sudden
Yeah.
heavy punch, right? So, like, that kind of situation, I know I'm spending a lot of time on this specific interaction, but that kind of situation is going to happen a lot as you climb up because people start recognizing that their neutral skip tools work less often, right?
Mhm.
Like your whip to keep me out, trying to force me to make a mistake. Like I was just as happy to sit back and wait, right? Like, I had no issue with like waiting to see what you would do, right?
Mhm.
And some folks at 1300, 1400, even 1500, maybe even 1600, they'll just drive rush, right? Like you'll do that whip and then they'll just drive rush behind it and then you just check them with a button, right, or something like
Or they
that.
start DIing
Yeah,
and
or
jumping.
yeah, like they'll do stuff, right? They'll be like, "Oh, this is uncomfortable. I need to be in there pressing buttons or whatever." Um, and this type of playstyle will work great well for that because they'll take like a quarter of their health just trying to get in, and they'll eat fireballs, they'll eat lashes, they'll eat like anti-airs and stuff like that. So me, I just walk forward, right? And then it's like, well, how do I deal with somebody walking forward, right? And you actually had the right idea. This is the correct idea, right? Like I'm walking forward and you want to press your button to keep me out, right? So like
Mhm.
if you had pressed a little bit sooner, like
Or like a
here,
light button, I guess.
light potentially too, right? Depending on
Yeah.
spacing. So if you just
Yeah.
this, right, that checks it,
Yeah.
and you do that a few times, or this, right, or this even, oh,
Mm.
right, like as I'm getting close. Oh, no, that's not it. That maybe this. Uh, right. So like you can preempt me in that way, right? So sorry, one sec here. Um, Before I get too much into that, have you seen the Footsie's trilemma or familiar with the Footsie's triangle? That concept. Have you heard of that? Seen that before?
I don't think I've ever heard the term, no.
Okay, okay. So let me explain that real briefly, right? So like, if you take two characters standing, like, in neutral, right?
Mhm.
And I want to hit you with my button, right? I need to walk into a range where my button reaches and press the button, right? This is referred to as a hit attack, but basically I need to get in range and hit the button, right? So I need to walk forward into a range that makes sense, press the button, and not whiff it, right? So to prevent that from happening, what you can do is called a cover attack, right? So as I'm walking forward, you press your button that stops me from walking forward, right? So like this is what you try to do here, right? And you see like the two concepts I just talked about happened in this interaction, right? I want to hit you with my button to walk forward. You want to stop me from walking forward, so you press your button that's hopefully a little bit faster or has good range or a good disjoint hitbox to stop me from walking forward, to prevent me from getting too close to press my button, right? And then the third thing is that if the person is always doing that, what I can do now is walk in and out of a range that induces you to press a button and then whiff punish the button, right? So like those are the
Mhm.
three corners of the triangle, if you will. I'll send you a video after that. Hopefully explains a little bit better. But the idea here is that what's happening in neutral is we are playing one of those roles. Either I'm trying to walk forward to hit you, I'm trying to get you to whiff. I'm trying to get you to whiff so that you, or sorry, let me explain this way. I'm trying to come up and hit you. You're trying to keep me away and out so that you don't get hit, or I'm trying to induce you to whiff so that I can whiff punish it, right? And then the full circle is that if you're only looking for whiff punishes, like your opponent's only looking for that, then you can just walk forward and hit them because they're expecting you to whiff a button or move, right? So again, there's a concept that you can look at, and I'll send you a video for it. Hopefully, it explains it a little better than I can. It's a video by High Fight. They use the footsies, the game, to explain it. But basically, what's happening here again is that like, and you did this without even knowing that concept. You say you're not familiar with it, but you knew inherently that if I'm walking too close, press a button so that I don't get too close, right? And that totally makes sense, right? It's just in this case you're a little bit late on the button. That's all. But yeah, you have some options, right? Like nothing is stopping you from doing those things, right? So you could definitely try that. And it is something that I think you'll have to develop game sense wise as you play more. And part of that comes from playing a neutral game that relies more on your buttons and normals versus
Mhm.
fireballs and drive rush, right? And again, those things are super strong, right? Like do them as long as people can't deal with them. But then you saw in our game, you tried to do an OD fireball and drive rush, and then I just derevved it, right? And
Yeah.
then not only do you not get the neutral skip, now you're down a bar too, right? Because that's how it goes. So
Mhm.
again, as you get better and better, and you play more and more, and you play this kind of grounded version of the game, you'll realize and recognize those situations a little bit better, right? That's all. Because right now, I doubt that people are just walking up and pressing buttons, or they're doing it kind of recklessly, right? They get way too close, and then you press your button, and then you hit them, right? So that's something. What you did here in this particular situation was correct. It was just a little bit late, is all. So anyway, you did it right there, right? So I tried to press another one, and then you press your button to keep me out, right? And that's perfect for what is happening here, right? You get a hit.
Mhm.
I know it doesn't lead to a ton for Aki in particular,
It
but yeah, we're good.
Sorry, I didn't wanna cut you off, but this is kind of what I was referring to when I was talking about, like, recognizing when I get that counter hit crouch medium kick.
Mm-hmm,
At least, like, I know enough about her, frame data to know that I have, like, a good conversion off of that, but
mm-hmm,
I just didn't notice, I just didn't realize, and I kind of, like, defaulted to pressing the stand medium kick because you were in that range,
mm-hmm.
but what I really should have done was, like, convert into something to at least get a knockdown.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's something I think you'll, as you get better at recognizing those situations, it'll be easier to confirm.
Mhm,
But I will say though is that even just this, like just landing this hit, this is actually pretty good for you, right? You
mhm,
may not get a ton off of it, like the damage is low, but what does happen is that it forces me back, right? And then you're able to press your button here because I can't really press because I'm minus after getting hit, and then you get some space back, right? Like even these sort of small incremental wins do add up, right? So this is good for you because you got a little bit of screen real estate back. But
mhm.
me being stubborn, I think I'm gonna walk forward after this. Let's see what happens. Yeah, just continue pressing, right?
Okay, and I'm walking into the corner right now.
Mm-hmm. So here, what I think is happening, and again, this is just what I was sensing in game, is that you're a little uncomfortable with the spacing, so you're really trying to back up to a space where you can play neutral again, right? Or play what
Mhm.
you want to play mid screen, right? And like you mentioned, you're walking yourself back to the corner. Unfortunately, you are going to run out of space eventually, though, right? So I think you recognize that too, so that's why you slide here.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen myself do this plenty of times.
Yeah, and this is totally fine, I think, right? In terms of what your goal is, right? Like, why did I do the thing I did there? And the goal was get me to block so that you can slide safely, relatively, and get
Mhm.
away from the situation you're in. Because now the situation is reset again, right? You have plenty of space to back up. You can create more space if you want. But unfortunately, I just send a crouching medium kick, right? So you're trying to
Yeah.
back up from here, but you're inside of crouching medium kick range, right? So I just send it,
Mm.
right? So this is a spacing recognition thing, right? And I think you may have said that or noticed it, or mentioned it. I want to say, where spacing might be something that you need to work through, and it's really hard. This is like one of the hardest aspects I think of fighting games is like space, right? How do I manipulate it? How do I control it and all that, right? But recognizing that in this situation here, that you are within crouching medium kick range means that you probably can't walk right away, right? So again, that's just really a recognition thing. So I think like
Mhm.
from this spacing, if you will, the more, I don't want to say correct, but like the safer thing to do would be to just block from here, right? Like just after, right, that whiff, just block, right? There's no reason for you to press again from here, right? Because you're inside a range, inside a crouch medium kick range. Whether or not you
Mhm.
recognize that, that's going to take some time, I think. But this spacing here means that if Ken or anyone sends a low forward drive rush, for the most part, it's going to tag you, right? So really, all it is here is just that you press a button, you whiff, just block a little bit longer, right? Wait for me to do something, because if
Mhm.
I do this, right, and you block it, maybe you can derev, maybe you can do something else to deal with this mix up, but it's better than getting hit, right? So, right, now you're in the corner, good
Yeah.
block, good, right? You try to slide out again. This time
Yeah.
I just sending buttons here, right? So,
Yeah, sorry, I'm like recognizing certain like Aki specific things.
mhm.
I know that you may not know like all of her stuff, but that punish counter, crouch medium kick, I could have actually gone for a sweep.
Hmm.
And that would have probably even been a better situation to slide out instead of immediately after doing that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because, yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know all the Aki specific things. 'Cause generally, when I'm getting hit, I'm like not paying attention to like the combo that you're doing. I'm paying more attention to like potentially the setup. But yeah, I
Mhm,
think if you had an opportunity to sweep me here and knock me down, I think that would have been
mhm.
fine. I don't know if you have enough time to jump over me in that particular scenario, but you could probably do something else,
Uh,
right? So,
I don't know, but
'cause if you do
but,
this and you said sweep,
sorry,
right?
I was chiming in with the Aki specific stuff because it was just one of those things where it's like, I'm noticing, like, the things that I'm not doing, like,
Hmm.
the things that I'm not linking or,
Hmm.
uh 'cause I know that you may not know, like, all of the Aki specific stuff, so
Oh
so
yeah, yeah,
I'm no
100%. I am not an Aki main by any means. I think I played her all of like the combo trial. That might have been it. I was planning on playing her at some point, but I never got around to it. But yeah, I mean, I think if you go through your replays here and you
Mhm,
recognize that there are specific things that you could have done, that's probably not a bad thing to do, right? So recognizing that a situation came up that I wasn't quite ready for, and now you have a situation where you can be ready for it, right? Like if my opponent whiffs a button and I'm able to get this punish counter here, I could go for something, right? And that's just recognition, really. I burn out here. All right, all right. So, um, that's good tech, right? I think like guessing on defense is not always a bad thing. You know, you can't block forever, right? And the offense that I've been running up to this point is really strike throw, right? Like
mhm,
I do a light button on meaty so that you can't really jab or press, and then I go for like a throw, and then that's constantly what I'm doing, right? Is trying to make you decide between it's just gonna can I delay tech this or not delay tech this, right? Like do I take the throw here or not? Eventually, you do have to guess, and I think that was a good one. I'm burned out here too, so it's difficult for me to really get a huge conversion off of a shimmy. So
mhm.
I think this is a fine tech here, right? So here, now you're in a pretty good position, right? I'm burned out. I only have one level of super here. I'm pretty burned out here. You have full meter,
Uh-huh.
right? So let's see what happens from here.
Too spaced out, yeah.
Yeah. So this is actually not bad, right? Like you're trying to just get me to make a mistake here, and I'm trying to play at a spacing where I can dodge all that stuff and try to get my meter back, right? So I have
Mhm.
zero issue with someone doing fireball drive rush against someone that's burned out. I think this makes a ton of sense to do. What am I going to do about that? I can't super on reaction because it's a level 1. So like even if I block or even if I try to super, it might get hit by the projectile. And
Mhm.
generally speaking, I'm in a block string after the fireball, right? Like I probably can't super anyway if I wanted to, right? Right. So if I mash super here, like you can see it in the frame meter here, is that there's no gap here, right? So even if I try, right, I can't super through this. So um, I think again, this totally fine. This is what you want to be doing when I'm in burnout, right? I know Aki has like a string that you can get into for burnout that makes her pretty good. I know it was nerfed
Yeah,
recently too, but still good. So
that's where I tried to I'm so sorry,
yeah, go ahead,
sorry,
go
I
ahead.
didn't mean to
Hey, no.
chime in. I was saying that was this moment right here where I was trying to get into it. Yeah, right there. That's when I tried to get into the burnout loop, but it
Yeah,
was way too late. You were, so close to getting out of burnout.
yeah, and part of that again is just because like there's a little bit of offense that I'm running here. Here's where the break
Mhm,
happens, and then you can see I have like 2 bars here more, whatever that equivalent is. And here you
mhm.
get in, right? So and then remember every time I block something, I get a little more meter back, right? That's how it goes.
Right.
But again, no issues with any of this, right? Being in burnout, like it's really up to me to try to navigate that. And then, the amount of risk you want to take based on that. I think you did a good job here, getting me, dealing with me in burnout, if you will, right? So, right, get some hits, right? And then here I was thinking to myself that I think maybe they're trying to see what buttons they could press at those spacings I was coming in at, right? You were going for low, kind of lows and like lights, right? And then let's see, hold on. After this, right? There's a medium there. I thought that was light. I'm sorry, but
Oh,
anyway.
sorry. The
uh,
the crouch light kick was actually a combo drop off
oh,
of
is that
the,
what I
stand
misread
medi
that?
yes.
Ah,
Actually yeah, 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 go back a little bit, I can see it a little bit. So, pause right there, okay, yeah. Wait,
so
no, it was after the
this
stand
is
medium punch,
the
sorry.
kick.
Yeah, yeah, and then you see that, and then there's the stand medium punch, and right there you see the stance,
Hmm.
and
Ah,
I messed up. That
okay,
yeah, that's what happened there. I just messed it up, really.
fair enough. It looked like you were trying to space that out, and that was my
Yeah.
assumption. Combo drop. You don't have to tell me that, I suppose, but yeah, okay,
Oh.
that's fair.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, no, 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 it was a very good spacing on my end, absolutely purposeful.
Professional. Um,
Yes.
but here, after that though, I think this button was a little more intentional, right? So like here,
Yes.
you can see is that I just land a stand heavy kick, and this is kind of far, right? Meaning like it's
Mhm.
hard for Aki to punish this, and a lot of characters in the game it's hard to punish this, even though Ken is -5, which is technically punishable. A lot of 5 framers won't reach from here, right? And Aki pressing her crouching medium kick, which is like a 6 framer, right? Or 7 framer here.
7.
Yeah, doesn't reach either, right?
Maybe
So
maybe stand heavy punch or crouch heavy kick probably would've hit.
potentially,
Well, yeah, it should've.
potentially.
Yeah.
But it's a risk, right? Like even
Yeah.
though Ken's -5 here, it's a very common space trap for Ken, right? Like he'll press
Oh.
this and then get you to press and then just punish you
Mhm.
for it, right? So like if I did what a lot of Kens do, which is right after this, I send a stand heavy punch, right? Oh, maybe he doesn't reach. Let's see.
Mm,
So like
yeah.
that space trap is very, very common, right? Because it's -5 and people want to take the turn back with a bigger button, people may whiff their button if they think it's too far, or they're trying to catch Ken doing something, right? So like if you press something quicker, you could potentially clip my stand heavy punch, or I can try to whiff punish you, right? And it's one of the reasons why Ken's stand heavy punch is so good, or stand heavy kick and stand heavy punch are so good, right? Why his heavies are so good, is because he's able to create those situations where you feel like you should be pressing, and then it whiffs, and then you eat a punish counter stand heavy punch, right? Like we saw
Mhm.
that example here. I didn't do it in this case because I was kind of expecting you to actually do something else, like not press or do something like back up. So that's why I kind of waited. But you can see, like, if you're not careful about that situation, you could get blown up for it, right? So that said, you try this, and I back up instead. I think I might have been expecting you to press a heavier button. I don't remember exactly what I was thinking here, but I didn't. I definitely didn't. Wasn't thinking to space trap you here, right? Although seeing this now, like this particular situation, now in my head, I'm like, okay, maybe I can get them to press after a set heavy kick. So, right. That's unfortunate that it
Oh,
whiffs.
sorry.
Right.
When I
And then,
saw when I
yeah.
when I saw myself do that, I was like, "Why did I do that?"
I mean,
Like,
it's not the
immediately.
worst option because I wasn't ready for it, right? So like if this lands, even on block, right? The
Yeah,
only
I
reason
think
this didn't work is because I happened to press, right? If I
Mhm.
was just blocking, right, that works, right? Or if I press something else, right?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that catches you out of that,
Yeah, not that one.
and maybe not that. But again, the reason that I get out of that scenario is because I press something, right? So
Mhm.
that tells me maybe there's one or two things here, right? Either if I didn't press anything, like I was saying, that could have worked, or it was at a spacing it was a little too close, right? So if I'm too close, then that whiffs, unfortunately, right? And we saw that too. Like I could just do this. Oops. Uh, right. I could just walk forward as well, right?
Mhm.
Or if I was like better, I could DP you out of this. I wasn't reacting to this, but I could do that.
Honestly, I think you can, like, neutral jump, medium kick even. Yeah,
Yeah,
there you
something like
go.
this, right? So like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I know that because, that's happened so many
yeah, yeah,
times.
yeah. And sometimes that happens unintentionally too, right? Like both of
Yeah.
us have decided that we're gonna jump, and then we both jump, right? But then because your hitbox is higher, right? Or sorry, your
Mhm.
hitbox is lower, where Aki's like hands are, I think, is how that move works. I'm able to just kind of press like on reaction to the both of us jumping, right? So, again,
Mhm.
it's really more of a spacing thing. So if you're gonna use that leap in a situation like that, you just have to make sure that you're at a spacing where the leap will hit me, right? Maybe I'm able to anti-air it. Maybe I'm able to deal with it. but at least you won't whiff it, right? Like maybe I end up missing my anti-air and getting hit, or maybe I just end up blocking, right? In which case it's a somewhat advantageous position for you, or more advantageous than not, right? More advantageous than whiffing anyway. So anyway, I don't punish it, right? Not able to drive rush or react to that. But then here's where I get you with the delay button out of drive rush, right?
Yes.
So really here is just a, I'm guessing that you're going to delay tech and it worked out.
Mhm.
That's really all that is. Generally speaking, I don't know if correct is the right way to put it, but like the most meter efficient way to deal with this generally ends up being a derev, right? So if you're able to recognize that on block and derev me out of that, I don't know if Aki has a good way to like reversal OS here, like mash reversal of some kind. I don't think that makes sense for her in particular,
No.
because it's a little slow, right? So a
Yeah.
derev probably makes the most sense in terms of like dealing with the drive rush, right? Especially if I have meter, because I have to spend 3 bars and you have to spend 2 bars, and that difference, I'm behind in the meter economy in that way, right? Delay tech's not a bad option though. Like, it's just tough to select when you could get killed for it, right? But that's how it goes, right? Because can you take another throw here? Probably. But then you'll be in a situation where you're like closer to the corner. Ken can drive rush for Oki, right? All that. So no. Anyway, if I were to again characterize the round, some of it just has to do with like neutral spacing, which you're being more comfortable there. And then the other half would really be like there were some defensive decisions that kind of got you, right. That one delay tech here, and then I think when you were in the corner, you got hit a couple of times, right. That's just how it goes. You are just guessing though, so don't feel too bad about like quote unquote losing Oki. It's hard to play that game, right. It's really a 50. It's really rock paper scissors in that way, right. And then it becomes conditioning and reads, and that's pretty hard to do. So now I'm in this round. I think I was like, all right, I'm gonna stand inside of that range and see what happens.
Mhm. Yeah, and that right there was a counter hit on a light lash, the previous counter hit.
This one, I think, right? That.
Yeah, that one right there.
Yeah. So again, it's really has more to do with like, well, what do I do at this spacing? Then you kind of autopilot to like, oh, let me try to light whip, right, and see what happens here. And the spacing is too close, right? The whip takes a little bit longer to get up, and this is one of Ken's longer moves, right? Like longer startups and stuff. So it still counter hits the whip, right? So there I tried it, right? Sometimes people will press here. So, and I saw you do that before, but this was on hit, so it was a little bit different. But I tried, right? I tried to see if I could tag you, maybe trying to press the button, right? You don't, which is good. Nice. See, and now you're in the corner, right? After
Yeah, and I'm
all of that.
Mhm.
And that, again, this is really hard, right? I think like at the level you're at now, you're starting to see this more and more, but it's difficult to deal with somebody that is just doing this, right? If you're not ready for it, because it's like, oh, I can't react to anything, right? Like it's not like a drive rush that I can stop, or like a dragon lash I can DI or anything like that, right? Like this Ken is just walking forward and pressing this button over and over again, and there have been times where I tried to take my turn back, like because Ken's -2 after this. There have been a few times where you tried to press something after, and then just got hit by the next stand heavy punch, right? Like it came out, and then you got hit. Like you tried to do a light, it whiffed, then you got hit, right? So this is one of those things where it's really hard because the space that I'm pressing this at makes it difficult for you to press your button without fear of getting hit on the way back, right? So how do we deal with this, right? The way you deal with this generally is by walking forward, right? Walking forward and blocking.
That sounds terrifying.
It's very scary. But the reason this works is because if you can get me to not space out my stand heavy punch correctly, right? Meaning I'm too close or even whiff it, then you have a chance, right? So you can, if I whiff it, the move has 1,000,000 frames of recovery. You can whiff punish it with like whatever button you want, even stand medium kick, right? Because if you do stand medium kick and punish counter, I want to say there's a conversion into drive rush you get from there. I can't remember exactly, but if you whiff punish
No,
me, no, okay,
sorry, not off a stand medium kick.
Nope.
It's
Okay.
not cancelable.
There's no link. Okay, maybe I'm wrong then.
No, you can link a at like max range stand medium kick. You can link it into a sweep.
Okay.
That's generally what people go to
Okay.
because
Or
like at max.
Yeah, gotcha. Or you
Right?
could probably get me with like a, I want to say her crouching medium punch. Maybe that's the button. At any rate, and maybe you'll have to look at this to be sure what it is. But
Mhm,
if you can, the way you deal with this really again is either by getting me to whiff, right? So
mhm,
trying to find a way to make me whiff this button, or walking forward and blocking, right? Mess with my spacing. So if I'm too close, right, I can't press another stand heavy punch because anything you press will tag me, right? And I know that, or at least that would be an assumption you make of an opponent that's doing this. Is that if I'm not at a space where I can safely press the heavy punch, I probably won't do it. So if you can walk forward and block one of these closer, that would it would incentivize me not to continue pressing that, right? That is one way to deal with it. Again, the other way is to try to get me to whiff, right? And people, that can be done as well, right? So you walk in and out of range, try to induce me to press the button, and then whiff punish me, right? And this is what I was kind of doing to you, right? Was I would walk into a space where it felt like you had to press something, and then either get me to whiff, or you can stuff it too, right? Remember, this button is also like 10 frames. So you could do a walk up with like a light or a faster medium if you have one, and stop me from doing that, right? So if we go back to this, right? Let's see, I think here. All right. So there's one stand heavy punch and a second stand heavy punch. So this is the situation I was talking about, right? I do a stand heavy punch into another stand heavy punch, right? So you block this one. Now what do you do from here, right? So if you think I'm going to go for another one, and this is a bit of a read or a guess, but like there are two ways to deal with it from this situation here. You can either walk forward and press a button, right? That stops me from doing what I'm doing.
mhm.
Ooh. Oh, come on. Right? That's one way
Mhm.
you can deal with it, by pressing a faster button there, taking your back a little aggressively. Or you can do this. Ooh. Right? So if you guess that I'm going to go for another one here and continue my pressure that way, and like how do I deal with this specific situation? It's one of those two ways. Walk forward, mess with my spacing, try to stuff the button, or back up and try to whiff punish, right? Like both of those things are viable here. Just blocking it out is kind of tough because you take a lot of drive damage, right? So like every time I
Right.
land one of these, you lose like half a bar, right, of drive, right? And that's pretty big. Right? That's kind of
Yeah.
ridiculous for what it is. Like I'm literally just walking up, pressing one button here, and chunking you for half of a drive part, right? But this is how people deal with, and like this situation here, and going back to what I was talking about earlier with the footsies triangle, this is how these are the ways to deal with somebody that is just walking forward and pressing a button, right? And that's kind of how you get better at the game, is recognizing that this is a situation that Juzzy is putting me in, right? How do I deal with the situation that I'm in right now? And your guess in your mind, you're like, okay, well, I think he wants to walk forward and continue pressing, right? And this is how you deal with those things. Now you may get hit, and it may not be right, or I could just as easily press this, walk forward, walk back, and then whiff punish your medium, right? That could be a thing. Or I assume you're going to walk backwards, and instead of pressing another stand heavy punch, I just walk forward and sweep you, or go for a crouching medium kick, right? But that's kind of the risk we're taking, right? And that's kind of how the game. Like if everything was safe, like the game would be really boring, right? Like I could just throw fireballs all day, not to worry about anything, and it would be really boring if that was the game, right? But
Mhm.
unfortunately, this is the situation. I think as you are where you are getting to now, is you have to kind of get better at this aspect of the game, right? I feel like you have a pretty good sense of like how to check drive rush and stopping those things. You did anti-air me the one time I did jump, so that's good. So I think you
Well,
have a good sense of that so far.
you did only jump one time,
Yeah, and you're
so
1 for 1, 100%, right? But anyway, I mean, again, I don't jump all that often. I probably should do it more in these scenarios, but that said, you did answer me, right? And you had the wherewithal to do that, and it was late in the like game 3 or something, right? So I've already been doing all of this, and then went for a jump, and then you were able to answer me, right? So that's really good. But I
Mm.
do feel like again, like if you're able to stop all the neutral skip stuff and win games that way, totally fine, right? That's exactly what you need to be doing, 100%, right? But then when it comes to this part, right, where I'm taking relatively lower risk than trying to do like a dragon lash or something, right? And I'm doing this instead. It relies on your ability to recognize what of those roles. Like, am I trying to walk up and hit you? Am I trying to get you to whiff, so like whiff punish it, or am I trying to stop you from walking forward? Which one of those roles am I playing at this particular moment in time, right? and that changes constantly, right? Like, am I being aggressive here? Am I defending? Am I trying to walk forward and hit? Like, that changes constantly. So all of that said, dealing with this situation here where someone's walking forward, you have some options, right? So,
Mhm.
okay, right, and
That
here
was
you're
supposed to
trying.
be a dry brush.
Oh,
The
behind
that
this.
dash was supposed to be a dry
Oh,
brush.
unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know if
Okay,
you. Yeah,
I just
I was.
reacted to the dash and just sent a button. It was late too, right? I was actually kind
Yeah,
of late here because he went for a throw. But I
yeah, I
was
was
like, huh?
so annoyed.
Right. And then here, how'd you get hit? Let's see.
Uh,
Okay. So here,
Crouch medium kick. Yeah,
yeah. So you just got hit. Oh, right before this.
maybe crouch light kick would have worked there. I don't know.
So I'm
Or
generally
not.
a fan of not pressing after you just got hit, right?
Fair enough.
So
Yeah.
you're -5 here, unfortunately. Now, if you had blocked this, it's 0, right, for Ken, because Ken doesn't get plus
Mhm.
buttons, right? So this is his, like, closest to a plus on block button, 0 here. So you could have sent it if you had blocked this, right? But you're -5 in this scenario here. So if I
Yeah.
do any follow-up and you try to press something, it'll hit you, right? So, like, I hit you here, I wait a beat and then press my button here, right?
Oh.
So
Okay.
two things, right? One is that this was a little bit late on my part, and that's kind of intentional because most people don't press immediately after getting hit, right? Most
Yeah,
people don't.
I'm.
You didn't either here, technically.
Yeah, I'm looking at the input right now. I was like, oh, I did wait,
You
but
waited a
just
little bit,
not
right?
long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that said, what I'm doing here, and something I do with a lot of people, is that I'm trying to get a sense of your rhythm, right? When do
Mhm.
you like to press? When do you like to move, right? And after things happen. A lot of folks, after they get hit, have this overwhelming and compulsive need to do something right after, right? That's just the nature of it. Oh man, I got hit. I better do something, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes they'll press, sometimes they'll back up, whatever, right? They'll do something. What I'm trying to do here is get a sense of when you like to do those things and then try to disrupt that timing, right? So I try to delay a little bit before I send my low. I try to change up when I'm pressing to see if I can get you off balance right here. Because technically, this is after the hit. We are now neutral, right? This is now neutral. My plus frames are over. I don't have plus frames anymore, so we can both act from here, right? And then what I was guessing at was that if I wait 5 to 6 frames, like a beat, if you will, I can press my low and tag them trying to press something or do something, right? And that's pretty much what happens, right? Is that. In this case, you were trying to press your own button. And again,
Mhm.
it's a little bit harder after getting hit to be brave enough to press that. So I'll applaud you for pressing this button here after you got back to the neutral. It's totally fine. But again, this is the real reason you got hit here is because I was just trying to get a sense of when you want to move, and I happened to disrupt that timing, right? Because you could just easily do this to me, right? If you get a sense of when I like to press buttons after something happens, you can do the same thing to me, right? Oh, after Juzzy hits a crouching medium punch, he likes to press crouching medium kick. Like, maybe make that assumption. And you can kind of get a sense of when he wants to press that, and then you can stuff it, right? So, like, if you, instead of doing this, went for, like, a light, right? Or something like this, right? Like, that stops me from doing the thing I'm doing, right? And again, this is more of like, I'm guessing they're going to do this thing, right? I think a lot of folks, when they play neutral and they start to get into like the levels you're at now, one of the things that I think a lot of the higher level players don't talk about as much is that they are guessing as much as you are, even in neutral, right? Even neutral is a rock paper scissors kind of game, right? It feels a little different because it's not Oki where you're kind of guessing between discrete situations, but it kind of is in a sense where it's like you have some options that you're dealing with. You want to narrow down what your opponent does to a few of those options, and then try to guess and create, and try to beat those options as best you can, right? Cover as many as you can. So, after you got hit here, there was a rock, paper, scissors aspect, right? Like, am I going to press? Am I not going to press? What do I press? And when do I press it, right? There's like all of those things that come into play. Again, the reason I'm talking about this more and more is because I feel like where you're at right now, given what I've seen and what we're discussing here, I feel like this might be an aspect where maybe it's not as clear, right? Or maybe it wasn't as like apparent that, oh, this is what's actually happening. Because I feel like at 1300, 1400, 1500, it can feel like your opponent is just pressing buttons at random and you're getting hit, right? And maybe that's true. Maybe some players are like that and they're pressing whatever. But as you get higher and higher, a lot of times the buttons people are pressing are a lot more intentional, right? Like there's a reason behind the crouching medium kick coming at the timing it did, right? At the spacing it did. So that all said, um, try not to press buttons after getting hit, but
Hmm.
you were back in neutral, so I think it was okay. It's just that your timing and rhythm kind of got read by me, and I was able to send something to hit you. That's all. There is a world where that doesn't happen. Like I just block, or there's a world where you're able to press your light or medium faster than me and tag me, right? So, all right. So here, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
This one is tougher, right? Unfortunate. But this is very common, I think, for folks when they get stuck in the corner, right? So you block this at 0. I'm standing at a spacing that is very difficult to deal with, right? Your back is against the corner. I'm standing under the timer here. So most of your buttons will probably whiff,
Hmm.
right? In this case, actually, what really happened here was that I'm standing at a space where I'm going to try to hit you with like the longest range I can hit you with, right? And what happens here is that you try to check my movement and the button is too short, right? Unfortunate. But I think this is the right idea. It's just it whiffed, right?
Hmm.
That said, it's very, very difficult to not whiff here, right? Because in order for you not to whiff, you have to walk forward into me pressing a button and then press your button, right? And that's kind of scary. So yeah, playing neutral or defense in this situation is very, very difficult, right? So remember I talked about spacing and like,
Hmm.
the space you're standing at. And I'm gonna say this now, I don't think I said it earlier, but the space you're standing at determines the options you have, right? So the buttons you press and the options you take depend on the spacing to make it make sense or not, right? Like if I'm standing across the screen, it doesn't make a lot of sense to press lights, right? Nothing's really going to come out of that. Similarly, if I'm standing point blank, it doesn't make a ton of sense to press heavies because the range and everything else, the advantages of pressing the heavy are kind of negated because it's slower and I can get interrupted by something else, right? In
Hmm.
this case here, because you cannot create space anymore by backing up, it means that most of the buttons I press will land, right, and hit you, right? So that's what makes what makes this situation really difficult to deal with. That said, I think you did almost the right thing in the sense that you had the right idea to try to check my movement, but it's tough because it whiffs, right? And I think that's just
Hmm.
really more of a space recognition thing more than anything else, right? So
And with the solution in that situation, that would have been like just take that slight step forward first.
yeah.
Because I do find myself in that situation. Like part of the reason why I like running out of the corner the first chance I get is because, that situation happens so much. So I'm assuming when I find myself there, just take that little tiny step forward.
hmm That is a way to deal with this, right?
Okay.
Because like
Because I didn't want to jump out because I was like, I feel like he's gonna anti-air me.
yeah, and that's like the spacing of standing here makes that really hard, right? Because if you do
Yeah.
jump and you're wrong and you happen to be wrong, like I don't send a button here, then you can get anti air, right? Because like from here actually, if you did jump, it would have worked. Funnily enough. Oop. Oh wait. Right before you're already pressing your button.
Yeah.
Yeah, here. Right. It would have worked. But that's only because I had pressed the button. You'd be guessing that I was pressing a button, right? Like
Hmm.
that would be that. That said, the ways that you would get out of the situation are either to walk up and stuff what I'm doing, right? So like you said here, oops, do this, right? But then again, that requires you to make a read that I'm going to walk up and press the heavy button, right? That is a way to
Hmm.
deal with that. Walk up and press. The other way you could do it is, and this is kind of the only other option, is you hope I whiff. When that's not a very good solution, right? So I wouldn't even consider that. That is something that can happen though. Like if I whiff my button in the corner and you whiff punish that, that is something you can do. But I think realistically, the way you do it is by trying to stuff what I'm doing, right? Or you could
Hmm.
jump, right? You can make a calculated risk to jump here as I'm walking forward. Maybe I anti-air you keep in the corner. If I'm too close, maybe you could take a cross cut, but at least you'd be out of the corner in that scenario, right? That
Hmm.
is a way to do it. But yeah,
That
I
or
think
like Cody slither out.
yeah, or de-slither, right? If you made a
Yeah.
guess there, or like something that happens to me a lot is you could DI me, right? And this is a specific thing against Ken in particular, but if you do this, right? If you read that I'm going to go for a button that is not cancelable, That's what I'm doing here. Right? I'm using my longer range button to try to get you to react in some way.
Mhm.
You could just make a read, hard read, and go for this, right? That is something you can do. Is it the best option? Maybe not. Is it a universal one? Only against characters that are using their non-cancelable pokes in the corner against you,
Mhm.
right? But it is an option, right? I'm sure like this has happened because this happens to me all the time. Is like I'm trying to do what I'm doing to you here to other people, and they make a hard read on the DI and then tag me, right? And then from here you do whatever you want, right? But
Mhm.
anyway, but that is an option, right? You just walk forward and press, right? And that can stop me from, it can deter me from doing that. Also, and this is more of a Ken specific thing, is if I'm too close with the stand heavy kick, I'm -5, right? So, oh,
Stand light kick. Stand light kick.
stand like kicks 5, okay.
4 frames.
Right?
Yeah,
And there's
there you
punish
go.
counter there, right? So
Mhm.
if you can get me to misspace that button as well, that is an option, right? So let's say you're a little bit late on the button, you press it and you end up blocking instead. If Ken is too close, you get a 5-frame punish, right? Whatever that looks like for Aki, right? It's something to
Mhm.
consider. But again, this is Ken specific and like a character specific thing. But generally speaking, if your opponent is just sort of weaving in and out of your range and you can't back up anymore, instead of the only things you can do is try to walk up and hit me, or try to stuff whatever I'm doing as I'm walking up, right? So either you do the hit attack, you walk forward and hit me, or you do the cover attack, like you try to stop me from walking forward. Those things are actually kind of difficult to do though, because you have to be a little brave to do it, right? Like it's scary. Like don't get me wrong, like
Mhm.
this is very terrifying to walk forward into somebody that's just pressing buttons at you and press. But that is a way. That is like the most stable ish way to get out of the corner, right? Again, you can always do other things, right? You can jump, you can reversal me, you can OD slither, you can do whatever option you have to try to get out. Those are viable too, right? And I have to deal with that. Right? If you make a read like that and a decision like that, then I have to deal with it, right? And you're no longer really worrying about the outcome because either you get hit and stuck in the corner, same situation, or you get out. Whether or not you take damage or not depends on if I crosscut you. If you jump, for example, but you get out, right? Even if you were to
Mhm.
OD slither and took like a hit somehow, or if you did a jump and got crosscut.
Grab.
Oh well, if I back throw you, yeah, that sucks. If I
Yeah,
do that,
that would have been really bad.
yeah, or if I do like if an Oki situation, I do like the jab OS or whatever that grabs the slide, that can suck too. But if you are taking a calculated risk to get out of the corner, you have to recognize that like the even if you get hit out of that, as long as you're out of the corner, mission accomplished, right? That's the risk you're
Mhm.
taking as you're trying to get out, is that you might get hit, but the reward, hopefully, is you're out of the corner, right? So anyway, unfortunate. Oh, you didn't anti me there, but that's hard. That's a tough
Yeah,
anti-air.
that's where I was exposed.
Right. So you're actually doing not a bad job here, right? To be honest with you. So I'm not really able to induce you to whiff. I'm trying to get a sense of when you want to press. I'm kind of not getting there, and you're blocking a lot of the buttons. You're not getting opened up as much. So right there, that send heavy kick was misspaced, right?
I was a little late because that could have, if I was a couple of frames earlier, that would have punished, but I
And yeah, I think
was
you
a
get a
little.
four framer from here, right? Probably, but like the jabs into up chain or whatever. But
Yeah.
that's just something you have to be aware of. Like that's a Ken
Mhm.
specific thing. But in this case here, you can see I misspaced this, right? And why did I misspace this?
Wait, did I walk forward? Let's go.
See, you did it, right? Now, whether you realize it or not is, one thing here, neither here nor there. But the point is that you did do the thing I was talking about, and I didn't have to tell you, right? It's like, oh, this makes sense to try, is to walk forward and press my button. The difference here was that I think maybe you were a little late on your button or whatever, but you did walk forward to create some space for yourself, right? And this 100% would be a 5-frame punish, right? Into like, what is it? This maybe? It's
Yeah, it would be 2 jabs into quarter circle forward heavy punch. That's
yeah, into the up
oh,
chain, right? So again,
yeah.
you could do this, right?
Or oh,
Whoops. What?
no,
Maybe
no,
not
that
that. But you
okay.
do have a 5-frame punish here, right? Whatever that happens to be for Aki.
Yeah, no, I could figure something out.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
could figure out
yeah,
something.
yeah. The point is though is that you did do the thing, and it worked, right? Like it would have worked had you recognized that scenario, and now you will, from there, right? So Funny, so I parried on reaction here because for some whatever reason I thought it was the OD uh, leap, which would have been bad for me because that would have been a punish counter because the OD leap is a grab, right? So anyway,
No.
no,
You're
it's
talking
still
about
counts.
the one where she jumps into the air?
Mm-hmm.
It's a grab on hit. It's not a real grab.
Oh,
But it
it's
is
just hit
plus
grab.
on block.
But I would have been if I parry that. Is it punish counter still? It should be, right?
No, no.
No. Oh.
No, because it's just a regular hit.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a regular hit.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong there. Okay. Anyway, at any rate, I parried.
'Cause it goes into an animation. Yeah.
Right, and then she hits you and knocks you down, right? So
Yeah.
there's your answer right there, right? Nice. Right, and then
Yeah.
you had gone for the throw like every time so far, so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna immediately tech here and see what happens, right? So.
Yeah, I was kind of kicking myself. I was like, he knew. He knew.
Yeah, and it's because you had done it the times before, right? And then
Yeah,
here,
I did it too many times.
one too many, right? You got to give me
Yeah.
guessing here. And then here, what ends up happening is I put you in the same scenario we've been in. The difference now is that you're low on drive, low on health, and everything else, right? Right. And then here's
Yep.
that space trap I was talking about, right? Where you try to take a turn back, but because Ken is spaced and the pushback is high, your button whiffs, and I just send another one here, right? So, again, like looking at our game, looking how it went, really, the things that I think you can improve upon is really just understanding the neutral game, right? Even in the corner, because if you look at the situations you were in here, if you watch the replays back, I was very rarely taking like a full Oki, like meaty situation, right? Like it would usually be like a light meaty option, maybe a little jab or something.
Mhm.
But a lot of the damage I was getting was opening you up while you were standing in this scenario here, right? Getting a whiff punish counter like this, etc. Right? And I think like as you get better at recognizing neutral and the neutral game and the spacing aspects, like being able to recognize what options you have at what spacings you're standing at, and I think relying a little bit less on chain and fireball and more on like
Mhm.
Aki's buttons to poke and create space. I think that this part will get easier for you, and you'd be able to defend this a little bit better, right? Because again, I'm not I'm not putting you in a lot of guess situations, right? I don't think I put you in a lot of situations where you're like, oh, do I have to guess left, right, up, down, whatever, right? Like Ken doesn't really play that way. Instead, I'm
Mhm.
just forcing you in a situation where you can't whiff punish me, and then from there, I can just do whatever I want in terms of pressing buttons, right? And I think most characters kind of function that way. So cool. Let me load up one of the replays you sent me. So the reason I like to look at both of these is because the way that I'm playing the game is probably not what you're seeing at your rank, like at your current elo right now. Like the way that I play
Right.
is might be a little different than how people play at the rank you're at right now. So that means like the things that I may be doing to beat you here may be different than what it looks like at your rank. So let me load up one of the ones you sent me. So while I get that going, any thoughts, questions, concerns at the moment while I load one of these up? Any
Um,
thoughts?
I guess there is one thing. Sometimes I do get a little frustrated with watching myself play because, as you know, I was able to at least notice some of the things that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like noticing that I do something wrong doesn't stop me from doing it again,
Mm-hmm.
which can get a little frustrating,
Oh yeah,
honestly. And
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I wish I had a good answer for that because I suffer from that all the time.
Hmm.
I get a little stubborn. I'm like, I'm going to make this work, right? No matter what I do, and it doesn't quite work out. I think a lot of it just comes down to more experience, like playing in situations where you get a second to go. Okay, let me rethink about what I'm seeing and doing here. So let's take a look at this. Okay, let's take a look at this game. I just picked the Ken mostly because it's a Ken, so we'll see how different the
Yeah.
approach is. And should be
Yeah. I
interesting to
also
kind of
have a
dissect.
bunch of notes from this. I don't know
Yeah,
if should probably keep those.
sure. We can talk about it, and you can just stop me if you see something that is interesting. So, what I like to do during these kind of replay reviews is I'll just kind of let it play out till something happens, and then we can talk about it.
Mhm.
Right. So, okay, approach doesn't do anything. Now you're point blank. Let's see what happens. This is actually not bad. I like what you did here. Right. People move all the time from this scenario. Right. This tags him low if he moves. It doesn't work, but whatever, right? You're able to kind of press him back. If you think about it though, the neutral spacing, you now kind of own more space than they do, right? Like they're closer to their corner. So Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did this happen, right? So this whiffs.
I caught pressing.
Okay, it's fine. Is what it is. I think like for Kens that are doing Dragon Lash, if you recognize that, you can definitely DI this on reaction, right? So if you hear the
Okay.
how's this, then you can just DI them. But anyway, so he doesn't throw you. You take a jab here, right? And then you get hit as you're backing up here. Oh, this is a counter hit, right?
No, I think
Yeah,
that
you're
was
pressing.
a yeah,
Pressing.
I was pressed.
Yeah. So that said, if we look at the situation here, so Ken presses a jab. You're technically plus, but he can chain it. Wait, hold on. Sorry. Let me just get back to the first jab you block here. This is kind of important here. So you block this jab, right? You have to guess now if the Ken's going to throw another jab, if they're going to try to throw you, or if they're going to try to shimmy you, or whatever, right? Because even though Ken's minus here, and this is pretty universal for most characters with light strings, they can cancel this into another jab, right? So if you mash here, right, like thinking they're going to do something else, you'll get hit by the second jab, right? Because there's no gap anymore, or the gap is so small that it's like a 1 frame gap, so you get frame trapped here, right? From right here though, after the second jab, Ken is minus, right? -1 here. The third jab might hit if he does a stand jab here, but you can guess from here as well, right? So what happens is he goes immediately to crouching medium kick, and you're late on your button here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you had decided to press a little bit late. So here's what I'll say for that. If you've decided that you're going to mash in this situation, mash immediately, right? So if you had mashed that crouching as a light kick, right? From here, right? And this is kind of subtle, but this is a guess, right? This is a read that you have to make. If you think that they're going to go for something that you can mash out of, then mash immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that works is because Ken goes into a larger button after he's minus, right? So he's trying to steal his turn from here, right? He's -1 and then sends a crouching medium kick, which is a 7-frame move. So effectively making it 8 frames, right? So if you press anything inside of that, right? I think that might be too slow. Right? That's a 7-framer, right? This. Or this. Right? If you're gonna commit to mashing in that scenario, basically what I'm saying is mash immediately, right? If you've decided
Gotcha.
that's the case, is if you mash late, that's how turns get stolen, right? Because even if you mashed a fast button, which was that crouching light kick, right? If you mash that, but it's late, it's still gonna get hit by the crouching medium kick, even though Ken's minus, right? So I think like in those scenarios there, a delay option doesn't always make sense. What I think
Mm-hmm.
is better is generally, if you're going to press in that scenario, press immediately, press timely, right? Or just block, right? If you had just blocked instead, right? And then you have an opportunity to deal with that in whatever way that works, right? The Jinrai. But at any rate, that what ends up really happening here is that because you press a little bit late, you get tagged by this, right? That's unfortunate. All right, so you're minus here,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you wait, and the Ken jabs, right? So this is pretty good recognition on both your parts, I think. Like the Ken recognizes your minus, you recognize your minus, so you wait, he jabs, whatever, right? So he tries to do it again, right? Tries to do the jab into the crouching medium kick, right? Right. That one's a little tougher to deal with. You have to make a guess on the first jab, but he dealt with it fine, right? He gets a crouching medium kick, doesn't go anywhere, it's fine. Okay. So how did that hit you this time? It looked like... Okay.
I think I delay buttoned.
Yeah,
I
you
think
did a
that's
delay
yeah.
crouching light kick, and he kind of just pressed
Yes.
his, right? So you guys
Yeah.
both are kind of staring at each other. Same situation as last time, and he just presses, right? It just happens to be you.
Mhm.
That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And then he counter confirms that into this, right? So... Okay. Doesn't answer. Oh, we tried to confirm, didn't work out. Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, there it is.
OD fireball. Okay.
Yeah, but it's not even just the OD fireball. Like that is nowhere near a range where I would have hit it, but I threw it out anyway. You know,
Yeah, if he didn't
and like
fireball here,
it's yeah, like that's kind of the thing that I do a lot, where it's it's so automatic for me to just be like, "Oh, screw it, I'll just throw out a light lash," and then, like, I was nowhere near being able to hit him, like,
Hmm.
and I know that I was nowhere near being able to hit him, but I had thrown it out and then, kinda left myself open to getting punish countered off of that OD
Yeah,
fireball.
yeah. If he decides to throw an OD fireball there, which is what happened here, you get hit for it, right?
Yeah.
So, really, it's just that comes down to like kind of like you say, just kind of breaking the autopilot a little bit, right? Understanding
Mhm.
that the spacing that I'm standing at means that my button will whiff, right? So if you think about it this way, when you approach your games, like just try not to whiff anything you do, right? Light
Mhm.
whip, fireball, whatever, like try not to whiff it. And having that mentality when you go into the game, you're gonna lose a lot of games doing this because your mental stack's overwhelmed by the fact that you try not to whiff. But
Right.
the idea is that as you play more and more with that intention, it gets easier to recognize spacings where your button will whiff or hit, right? And we can go over if I don't know if you're big into drills and stuff like that, but we can go over some things you can look at to try to get better at that. But
Yeah,
really,
sure.
again, that just really comes down to like, am I at a space where my option that I'm picking will hit or not? And if the answer is no, I shouldn't press it, right? Generally speaking. So anyway, he doesn't kill you from here though, because he goes into his Jinrai instead of cashing out. Right? And then you get hit by the same thing as last time, right? So he does 2 jabs, okay, plus frames, right? 2 jabs, and then you lay on your button,
Yeah.
right? So again, like a delay option here is not bad in particular, right? Because if you do the same option here, right? So let's say you do the delay option and the Ken does something else, right? If I go for walk up throw, I'll get hit, right? If I try to do my last button, right? You'll block it, right? That's what happened here. The button came out, like your delay option ended up blocking, right? That OS. And if I
Mhm.
shimmy, right, you'll hit me, right? So this is not a bad option, right? A delay light after blocking 2 lights is not a bad option. It just loses to this kind of intentional gap that the Ken is leaving, right? Now, whether
Mhm.
or not the Ken recognizes this, I don't know, right? Because I'm not in this Ken's head. But what I did notice is that, and hopefully he noticed it or they noticed it, is that it worked the first time, right? Like it worked earlier. So humans, as random as people want to consider, say that this game is, humans aren't inherently random, right? Like in my mind, the most likely thing that someone will do is the last thing that worked, and the least likely thing that someone will do is the thing that didn't work, right? Like if you think about a lot of the gameplay situations you're in, there's a lot of times where people will just do the same thing over and over again because it's working, right? Now, whether or not they change it up, it's up to them. At the same time, a lot of people, if something doesn't work, they'll try to do something else, right? Then again, it's really hard to break that autopilot too, right? Like, oh, I don't know what to do. Let me default to something, right? So, at any rate, I just wanted to highlight that the defensive option you're choosing is not a bad one. It's just that it happened to lose to what this Ken is doing. That's all.
Mhm.
So, at any rate, if I were to characterize what happened here, the reasons you got hit in this scenario here really just come down to like there was a few situations where like that happened, right? OD fireball into drive rush, and then situations like that where you're trying to take a turn back or you're trying to apply like a delay option and it gets blown up, right? Like that situation there. You guys both were like kind of standing and got hit. Right. Right. And if you look, really, the Ken never really did a high damage combo or higher damage
Mhm.
combo than this, right? In particular, so like that just means that you were getting chipped a ton, like nickel and dimed, if you will, right? He wasn't really going into
Mhm.
a huge conversion. Like a lot of times he would just convert into Jinrai, right? So, all right, that was good. So he tried to Dragon Lash and you just drive rush in. That's good. Worked out. Okay. All right, so I'll point out here, right? This was I don't know what game this was in your set. I'm assuming this is ranked, right? So I'm
Bird.
not third game. Okay.
Yeah.
So after the hit here, right, you do a slide, your plus, right, and the Ken elects to jump, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not quite sure if they had gone for something else here, but it looks like you're trying to shimmy, right? So
Yes.
um, and that's fine. I think like I'm assuming there was this same situation happened earlier, and the Ken went for something like a reversal or whatever, right? Maybe not. I don't know. But if this was game one and you were looking at this, I would imagine that you would recognize that the Ken elected to neutral jump here, so that the next time this happens, you should probably pay attention for that particular scenario, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
because I think you had an anti-air opportunity here, and I think you
Yeah,
try.
just not the right. I didn't
Yeah,
use the right one. It maybe I think.
m-
Mm,
medium.
sorry, it's
It would probably
this
be
is one of
medium
the
lash, right?
this is one of the issues with Aki is trying to figure out. Oh, there
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, the
So
medium punch
probably
version would
medium
work.
lash, right? The
Yeah,
diagonal one. You could
yeah.
probably actually do this too,
I wonder if
right?
crouch. Oh,
Yeah. So
oh, he's not out of range for that.
not for that one, no, because of the situation, right? So
After the
yeah,
because you did it like a slight step
yeah, because
forward.
you're
Oh,
moving back, right? So
yes. I probably
oops,
walked too far back
yeah.
actually.
But at any rate, you have some options here, right?
Hmm.
Right. So anyway, at that rate though, just recognizing the jump is probably what you want to do. But again, you're guessing here, right? So but that said, you can ideally punish neutral jumps. That's what I want to get at.
Hmm.
You tried though. That is the important thing.
Uh,
Okay, so here, right? Ken's whiffing buttons in front of you,
yeah,
right? So like this would be a situation where you're like, okay, I'm gonna wait for him to whiff and then press my button after that, right?
yeah.
But we were talking about earlier the footsies triangle thing. The role that this Ken is playing right now is he's trying to walk up and hit you, right? So you have some options on how to deal with that. Either you walk forward and stuff the button, or
Hmm.
you let him whiff and you whiff punish, right? You can do one of those things because he's pressing heavies, right? That's heavy
Yeah,
punch. He pressed a heavy kick, right? And the reason he gets you here is because he does a stand light kick drive rush commit, right? So he
yeah.
commits to a drive rush from here.
Yeah, and he caught me on the
Yep,
startup of the
the chain,
light
yeah,
lash
the lash, yeah.
again.
Good DRF here. I like that. I think that's a good option for Aki because you don't have a reversal really. You have level 1, but spending it there might not make sense. I think this is a good option here. Oh, I like this Ken. So he tried, right? He tried.
Yeah, I
Oh,
kind of got surprised. That's why I didn't do anything. I was like,
and
oh, that.
he tried again too. He
Yeah.
reacted to your stance. Okay, he preempted it a little bit, but he was trying to catch a what should we call it, a fireball here. Your recognition. So you end up winning here, but right here,
Hmm.
there's not a huge compelling reason for you to back up, right?
Hmm.
So you could just as easily just stand under the timer and wait. You don't have to back up throw a fireball, right? Because if you think
Mm.
about what happened and when we were playing, because I never really gave you this much space, right? Like I would just stand under the timer here, force you in the corner, and make you make a decision and hopefully open you up, right? But from this situation here, even though I think like it's not the worst because you have such a commanding life lead, he's poisoned, like any mistake he makes is gonna die. You're giving him an opportunity to get back into the game, right? And as
Hmm.
snowbally as SF6 is, if Ken gets two or three conversions on you here, you could die, right? Because he'll have level 3.
Hmm.
So, like the Ken makes a hard read on the OD Fireball Drive Rush, right? And all of a sudden he's in, and you have to deal with Oki, right? Again, this works out because he makes a mistake by pressing when you're plus, right? Right? You're plus,
Yes,
and
plus two.
he sends a big button, and you hit him, right? So like that's a mistake on the Ken's part, but this is good on your recognition on your part, right? That you're plus at a spacing where a jab won't reach, so you can send this button, and if he presses anything that's a medium or bigger, it's likely going to catch them, right? So this is good. But the Ken does make a mistake here, right? Which is
Hmm.
pressing when you're minus, right? Again, like I don't mind what happened here overall. I think it was a good way to play the game to try to force them to make a mistake. But there may be situations where you're in this scenario, but your life is like here, right? Like
Mhm.
it's way lower. So you can press your advantage here and try to keep them locked in the corner as opposed to giving them space here, right? So another strategy thing, something to consider doing instead of going back to fireballs. Because again, even though it's comfortable, it may not be the best way to approach that, right? Maybe there's a way to stop them from getting any momentum at all and finishing the game right then and there, right? If you can. So yeah. Okay, 6-frame punish. Nice. Right. Neutral jump
That
again,
was
right?
just
So
poorly timed meaty.
missed it,
I
right?
just didn't time. Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. It was a little late.
A little late. It's okay. How it is. Okay. Okay. So he recognized that, right?
Yeah.
All right, playing at spacings that you're comfortable with. All right. So I'm assuming you've done this more than once. The stand heavy kick,
Yeah,
you just
it is the third
yeah
it is the
sends it.
third game.
Yeah.
Final round. Yeah.
Oh, misses his dragon lash. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Okay. So mid-screen techs are what they are. I think like a lot of
Yeah.
times it's just safer to take the throw in a lot of the scenarios because if you look at how much damage you took, like 47, 49 here, you could have just
Mhm.
taken 1200, right? If you had just taken a throw. So, something to
Yeah.
consider, especially mid-screen when you have a lot of health, right? Taking the throw usually makes more sense, right? So,
Mhm. He also didn't really represent too many throws in this game.
Mhm.
Like in this specific match.
yeah. So if they're not throwing
Yeah.
you, there's not really a compelling reason to tech, right? I'll be
Right,
hopefully.
yeah.
So, oh, get clipped.
Yeah.
So fireball here. So he catches you trying to slither out, right?
Yes.
Okay, finished it. Cool.
Yeah.
So really here, right? The reason that I think you this got away from you was after this DI. Right?
Yes.
So you autopilot a little bit, and again, like, it is what it is. He actually messes up his combo here. I think he meant to do a dragon lash to side switch. It didn't work out. But then what really gets you here is that tech, right? The mid-screen tech, right? And teching in round 3 is very dangerous because of, the amount of resources people have, right? You take, 4,700 damage, and then you get caught trying to slither as the Ken just drive rushes in, right? So,
Right.
again, if some of this just has to do with space recognition, right? I think that if you're playing at a spacing where the Ken is uncomfortable, then I think a lot of these things don't happen, right? Like you were trying to play at your fireball whip spacing, and the Ken just drive rushed in and OD fireballed and dragon lashed at you, right? And was able to get in that way. And then once you were kind of in that spacing, it was difficult for you to play because it was a little uncomfortable, right? Either there were situations where you should have mashed and it was late, should have blocked, but it was late to press, like those things that we looked at for blocking the lights. But again, I think like if you're able to stop some of the neutral skip, which seems like you're able to do in these scenarios, right? The times you did get hit was because you threw a lash out that got beat by the OD fireball, right? But if you're able to stop the neutral skips, I think you actually take this game, right? Take the set probably, because the Ken isn't really showing that they're able to play the grounded neutral. They're using a lot of neutral skips to get around, right? And then forcing into situations where you have to guess. And that's totally valid, right? I think like a lot of people play that way, and I think that's totally fine. Like you can play that way. Just a little more volatile is all. That all said, though, I think like even though you won that second round, that's the only critique I would have really is like you don't necessarily have to back up to fireball range. If in the situation you're in, I think it was probably okay because you had a commanding life lead and they were about to die. But I think that in general, when you get in a situation, like if they had more health, you had less health, or whatever, I think it's probably a little bit better to just stand under the timer and use that space with your buttons to try to get them to make a mistake, right? Because if you back up too much and you give up space, now your opponent can play neutral again, right? And then now they have other tools available to them. But if you saw when we were playing and I kept you in that corner, you probably shut down a ton of your tools, right? You can't do certain things because I'm too close now, right? So putting your opponent in that scenario is it has a higher chance of you winning the game versus backing up, because now you're like trying to force them to make a mistake as opposed to just backing up and waiting for a mistake, if that makes sense, right? So that said, what did you think about this game? I know you took a lot of notes around it, so what were you
Let
thinking?
me Man, let me pull them up. So of there are quite a few notes that I took that were like some like Aki specific stuff,
Hmm.
like converting off of certain stray hits.
Hmm.
Um One of them, this is a moment that happened in the first game where I had gotten into stance and Ken had jumped in, and I was not able to anti-air him because obviously I was in stance. And granted, I know to look out for this because I've watched so many of my replays, but sometimes I just will be in like nothing's happening, and I'm like, okay, I'll just get into stance for no reason. And that is something that I've seen myself do. Sometimes it's kind of like to threaten a dive if I think that they might think of throwing out a fireball
Hmm.
just to kind of mess with them. But I've seen so many instances of me being in stance and I end up getting hit out of it, or I like miss an opportunity, like getting that anti-air of him jumping in.
Hmm.
I didn't get punished for that, but I noticed that. That was one thing. Also I saw, in fact, I guess I could ask you this. Uh is it possible to just beat heavy Dragon Lash with like a standing jab? Because
Uh,
like
yeah, you can jab it, you
okay.
can DI it, you can parry it.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
because I had just hit replay takeover and it was right in the towards the end of round one where I was like, man, if I didn't get hit by this Dragon Lash, maybe it would have been a little bit better. And
Hmm.
I had noticed that. Um I think I got caught mashing during a string somewhere. I think
And
a lot of the
in this
things
particular
yeah.
game,
Mhm.
you're mashing late. It was a delay, sort of a delay button, right? Is what you did. It
Okay,
wasn't
yeah.
quite a mash in that sense. At least for the game we saw. Now, obviously, that sounds like it's like set notes, but in
Hmm.
this game that we looked at, it wasn't necessarily a mash where you got beat. It was a delay option that got beat.
Hmm.
Yeah, but
Um Oh, there was a specific Oki situation that I know that I need to learn. This happened round three. This might have actually been something that could have helped me win the game instead of going into the drive rush into 2 MK, 5 HK stance kicks.
hmm.
Learning the proper Oki situation off of the detonation for the poison light
Mm.
lash. Maybe it could have been a little bit different if I did that instead of, doing what I did and
Yeah,
then eating that
the
DI.
freestyle drive rush that kind of got beat by the jump. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think like having set play is important,
Mhm,
and I think like it helps a lot because it reduces your mental stack, right? So I know a lot of people online kind of whine about, oh, autopilot is bad and people flowchart and set play and all that stuff, but it's really important, right? Because if you knew in your head that after this poison detonation from the lash, I'm going to do this sequence and it will be meaty, right? You no longer have to think about it. Now, what you can use your conscious brain to do is pay attention to what your opponent does in reaction, in response to what you're doing, right? Do they block? Do they delay tech? Do they jump? Do they do something else, right? Because your set play is already set. Your fingers and your muscle memory is going to do what that is, and you know
mhm,
what the frame advantage ideally would be after that. So you just pay attention to what your opponent's options, or what options they're choosing rather, and then you take that as data, right? And then next time you run into that same situation, you make an educated guess on what you think they're going to do next, right? Like that's the power of set play and autopilot, right? So I will say that it is 100% worth learning, 100%
mhm,
worth labbing and understanding and doing. And again, that's just mechanical lab work, right? Like spend some time in the lab, get used to it, and then recognize the situation, right? And then eventually committing that to your autopilot so that it just happens. And again, using your conscious brain to solve problems, right? Like look at what your opponent is doing, right? So yeah, I 100% agree with what you're saying there. Um, cool. I'm trying to think if there's any situation that I think we need to hop into. I don't think so. I'll send you some videos after of like the footsies triangle thing, and then a
mhm,
couple of things I think might help when it comes to the situations you were in here when it came to neutral on like how to deal with that, and like something you can look at for like drilling not whiffing. Like I made a video on that a while back, which I think might be helpful for you. So you can look at that whenever you want. Um, cool. So any other questions or comments and concerns so far? Thinking in
Um,
general.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
Okay.
I know that. I do know that whiffing is definitely an issue for me and like a lot of people at my level.
Hmm.
So I'm not surprised. Um, so I guess that would be something to figure out
Hmm.
to do first, I guess. Oh, there was actually another thing that I wanted to mention. It didn't show up in the replay that we went over, but it actually shows up in one of the other replays
Hmm.
where sometimes I find myself in a situation where, like, let's say I do get like a punish counter crouch heavy kick. For Aki, she can link into her level 3. It's unscaled. It does a little bit over 50%. And
Hmm.
I have found myself in so many situations where if I had just recognized that I did that and then just went right into the level 3, I would have won not just like rounds, but even matches in full sets.
Hmm.
But because I didn't notice that, I end up going for the regular thing. I was wondering if you had any advice on like paying attention to noticing when those types of situations come up.
Ah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, I
it
got you.
might be a lot to ask, but
Yeah, yeah. So let me show you what that looks like. So, and this is a specific thing for me and how I do it,
Mhm.
but there's plenty of ways to do this. So, I'm gonna set the dummy here.
To the random.
It's a random, right?
So I don't wanna I don't wanna, say anything negative about this. I've done this before where I've set
Hmm.
it to random, like, "Okay, cool, seems great," and then I go into rank and then it just doesn't translate.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
so, like, the lapping I do, but then, like, I for some reason, it's like as soon as I get into a ranked match, I forget everything that I labbed, and then
yeah,
I have such a hard time with bringing that in.
yeah. So for me in particular, the way I approach it is that there's a lot of visual information you get from the game, right? So
Mhm,
like if I set this to punish, always counter, right? So when I press a button hit, right, there's orange hit sparks, right? And then if I do it again, there's a counter hit badge that shows up over here. There's also other things, right? So there's a health bar that moves, right?
mhm,
There's also if I have less than this, right? This will move. The drive gauge will move.
mhm,
Like you see it jump, right? Right? Or
mhm.
in this case, right, you see it move. So I think what that mean, I know it's a little bit overwhelming, right? Because there's like, oh man, I have to look for these random hit sparks and badges and other things on top of doing all this other crap, right? I think like there's two ways to do it for recognizing that. One is the raw reaction, right? So like I'm pressing buttons here, I see the counter hit, right? I go into my combo, right? I see the counter hit and I can react to that, right? However that works for you, something you'll have to figure out on your own for that. The other
Mhm.
thing is recognizing situations, right? So you said it was a counter hits or a punish counter sweep that can link
It
into level 3,
technically
right?
it's so Aki's a little weird. Her crouch heavy kick is not a sweep. Her crouch heavy punch is a sweep, but
Mm-hmm.
her heavy kick is actually a really good button, in my opinion, for whiff punishing,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so disjoint. And I she can link actually, not just cancel. She can cancel one hit confirm cancel into it, but she can also link into the level 3
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
it.
Okay.
So I was trying to like
Okay.
remember. Yeah.
But you said it was punish counter though, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, punish counter. I meant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, for that scenario, right? The punish counter, typically you're in a situation where a punish counter could happen. Now, how do I want to describe this? So, like, if you're standing in neutral like this, it's hard to
Hmm.
know if you're gonna get a punish counter or not, right? Like, if I press a button randomly, like if I'm gonna get a punish counter or not, like that's hard. But if I have the Ken do this, right, and I'll have him do that, right? It's a little easier to recognize on the whiff, right?
Hmm.
Because you see, so like for when it comes to that, right? If you look at Ken stand heavy punch here, and I'm gonna use the heavy punch here because I feel like heavies are generally where you're gonna get more with punishes into punish counters, unless it's a punish,
Hmm.
right? So like if you block a DP or something, I think that's automatic, right? I think you have no issue with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But if you get it randomly in neutral, right? So a lot of times punish counters are specifically with punishes, right? And I think like for heavies in particular, that's what you're gonna be with punishing. So if you look at Ken stand heavy punch here, 10 frames startup, 5 frames active, so that's 14 frames because of the overlap, 17 frames of recovery, so 31 frames, right? So most people can react to things if it's within 20-ish frames, right? So I think like you're getting into upper, elite level reaction time when you're talking like 15, 16 frame reaction. I think for the majority of the human population, you can react to something in 19 to 20 frames, right? So what that means is that you can recognize that a button is coming out up until the recovery starts, right? So this is 14 frames, another 5, right? So that means that there's an additional 12 frames of recovery from here that you're reacting to, right? So if I press this, right, you see that coming, you can react to the first 20 frames with the startup, and then you can press your button in time after that, right? So theoretically speaking. What that means, though, is that like if you see this, in your mind, as you're about to press your button to punish counter that, you'll know already that it's going to be a punish counter. So it makes it a little easier to react to, right? So if you do this something like this, right, now you can react to the whiff, right? And that's kind of what I did here. So that's kind of what I would do.
Mhm.
Because like the random thing is really only good for like hit confirming lights and like and getting used to it, right? Getting used to seeing it. But I think where
Mhm.
you're at now, it has more to do with recognizing a situation where a punish counter could happen, and then
Right.
priming your brain to recognize that a punish counter could happen, and then being ready to confirm if it does happen, if that makes sense. Right. So
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the drill you should probably try instead. So like get a
Mhm.
Ken or someone else that has a big button, like Ken has a stand heavy punch, something like that, and just have them start doing this, right? And then you just kind of recognizing the startup of the button, right? And you can see that's not even something that I'm necessarily reacting to. I'm not even looking at the screen anymore, right? So I can see that, right? And like part of it is spacing, which you'll get, but the other part is just recognizing that there's a startup and recognizing in your own head that you're likely going to get a punish counter here, right? Because like Ken can do other things from here, right? He can, right? That's I can't like do this on reaction. I have to actually commit, right? So recognizing that the button whiffs and then doing the button. That's hard, obviously. But if you start taking some characters and doing that in the lab, I think that will help more because then you'll get a sense of like spacing, right? So like pick a character or two that maybe you had trouble with or recently, and then have them, record something like this where they're doing one of their main pokes or bigger buttons, and then just try to get used to the spacing with punish that, right? That could be really helpful for you because if your issue is that in the scenario you're talking about here, if your issue is that I need to recognize the punish counter, I think that it's less about a raw reaction and more about recognizing the situation where it could happen, right? Like if I told you to react to a random color and tell me the color and I just flash it on screen real quick, that's harder than me going, okay, react to the color green and then press the button, right? And if I make it harder, I can add more colors, but only react to one color, it can be hard, right? But if your brain is only ready for one thing, it can be easier to react, is what I'm getting at, right? You don't need like the super raw reaction time of like elite Street Fighter players. You can have a relatively normal reaction time. The difference being is that your brain is already ready to see that. So that might be, I would try that and see if that helps at all,
Mhm.
because it can also translate, and that should rather translate to your actual games, where now it's like, oh, this is a spacing where Ken stand heavy punch will whiff. This is a spacing Ken stand heavy punch will hit. Am I standing at a space where it'll whiff? I recognize that Ken standing heavy punch is coming. I know it's going to whiff because I'm standing in a space where it's going to whiff, and I just send my button, right? Like I know this is a punish counter, so I can react to that. So that might be something you can try. And and let me know how it goes. I've never suggested that to anybody before because as soon as I put in the random, you're like, oh, that doesn't work for me. I was like, huh, what could work in that scenario? And I think this might be something you can try. So
Okay.
and see how it goes, right? Because I think
Mhm.
that as you play more and more, situations become like there's only so many discrete situations that can happen in Street Fighter, right? Like you're playing character, and there's only so many things that can happen. As you play more and more, I think your brain will be ready for more of those things. So yeah, cool. Anything else you're thinking about?
Um, Off the top of my head, I don't think so.
Okay.
Those were like the main things was just, I guess, recognizing situations and knowing how to stop myself from doing something that I know I shouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I think that's basically it.
Okay. Do you have time to run it back? You want to run another set, or you gotta go?
Uh, yeah, I can probably run a quick set.
Okay.
Uh,
It's up to you. Not a huge deal otherwise, but Yeah.
I will say I'm probably not gonna try to win.
No, no,
I'm just
no. What
gonna
I
be
would say that what you should probably try to do is recognize the situations where you feel like you want to autopilot and just avoid that if you can, right? So like it's very difficult to implement what I was talking about quickly because
mm,
it's like this isn't a quick fix like oh stop teching, right? Or like
right, yeah.
whatever, right? So instead what you should really think about is like the spacing you're standing at. Do I when can I press whip or when do I want to press a button, right? And try not to whiff your buttons if that makes sense, right? So
Okay,
leave the
I'll
mics
try
on
that.
because it's funnier that way. And yeah, that's really all I would say. Just try not to autopilot into whip from so far away.
Okay,
Try with that
I'll
one
try.
intention and go from there.
I'll try.
Oh, oh, nice. Ah, oh no, the slide ended up in front of me.
I'm
That's
so
unfortunate.
upset.
Oh, oh no, it crossed up. That
I
was the right decision
tried.
though, I think, when it
I
came to the
tried.
anti-air. So I think much better though. You weren't really trying to just whip me from that far. You actually walked in, and you saw how effective it was. I had to deal with that, and I got almost ran over in round one or game one or round one. Yeah. So nice slide. Ah. Oh no, not again. I think that I'm not quite sure if that's
Heavy lash. I
if
gotta do
that,
heavy lash.
yeah, maybe just don't drop. I don't know. I'm not sure how to deal with that if I'm jumping like that. I guess if it's whiffing. Ah, oh nice. Yeah, that's a, okay. So that one was really just the whiff, right? And I think like when you're talking about
Yeah.
how do I recognize a punish counter, I think it's pretty apparent there, right? It's like, oh, that button whiff. There's a lot of recovery. I can press my button, get the punish counter, right?
Yeah,
So,
hang on one moment. I accidentally pressed a button on my remote and left the screen. Okay, there it is.
all right. Oh, oh, I didn't parry. Yeah, that's that space trap one, right? So
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah,
I
and you
recognized
can
right after pressing.
yeah, and you can see it, right? Because it's like it looks like it's gonna hit, and then it it just
Mhm.
doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Oh, oh no. So again, I think like you're doing a much better job in neutral,
Mhm.
right? I think you're able to you're standing at a spacing where maybe it's a little uncomfortable, but now you can see how much harder I have to work, right? Like I'm not just like able to walk forward and press. Like you're actually at a
Mhm.
spacing and challenged me in situations where it made sense to do so, right? And you can kind of recognize that I think if you look at those replays and compare it to our first set, where like felt like I could just walk forward with impunity, right? But in this
Mhm.
set, I had to be a little bit careful because you were paying attention to the spacing and you were actually able to hit me as I was walking back in a few of those instances, right? So good stuff. Like that was really impressive. That's really hard to do to make that adjustment right away.
Oh,
So it's
thanks.
pretty good stuff. Yeah. Again, I think like just the final answer really just get comfortable with your pokes. I'll send you a couple of things. It's like the don't whiff drill and
Mhm.
a video on footsies, so like the footsies triangle. And hopefully those concepts kind of solidify why I say the things I say. Because a lot of it, what I base like this stuff on, is basically off of that, right? So being able to understand spacing, the manipulation of space, and understand like kind of the roles quote unquote people play in neutral, right? It helps me a lot to understand what's happening, right? The other part would be, and kind of what you mentioned there was just kind of your set play situations, Oki situations, just making sure that when you get the knockdown, you're able to do it. Like that first round we played in the second set, I was getting run over, right? Like I was getting run over by your set play. I was trying to guess, and I was wrong a couple of times, and almost died for it, right? The only reason I got out is because I got a good timing on a jump, and then able to get out, right? So
Mhm.
yeah. That all said, any last second questions, comments, concerns?
Um, Not off of the top of my head.
Okay.
Definitely in the second set, you could see a bit more of that, the issue with the anti-airs. So I do know that that is something that I should actually be working on as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming that I should be working on that alongside some of the stuff that you're gonna end up sending me. Um, but I definitely think I'm gonna go ahead and watch this VOD over again just to like make sure that it really sticks in my
Oh
head
yeah,
what you were saying.
100%. It'll
Um,
upload to YouTube probably sometime later today, and yeah, definitely watch it like 2x speed because it's a long time. It's like 2 hours, but you probably watch it and see what I was talking about for sure. Cool.
mhm.
Yeah, if nothing else, thank you for coming on. Hope it was helpful.
Yeah, it very much so. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, of course. So have a good. Oh shoot, I usually say night, but it's afternoon, so have a good afternoon. Take care.
Same to you. Have a good day.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. Sit down and shut up. Appreciate you guys coming on as usual. Zane, we'll do that collab soon. First first to 500 or whatever it is we're gonna actually do. But yeah, anyway, thanks you guys for watching. I do appreciate you guys chats and likes and follows. And Bagel, thank you for the sub as always. I do this through the Fight Rise channel. So Fight Rise is a fighting community focused on Street Fighter 6. They do bi-weekly events through their One Fight Stand series. 7 round Swiss, so upper lower brackets for master, for MR rather. So if you're higher master or elite player, if you will, you get a higher bracket. There's also lower bracket, so it's a little bit more rank separated. I also do community events through their community showcase events through the Urge to Fight series. So I do commentary for them every so often, showcase some of the players that have been coming up and coming rather in Fight Rise. They also do a charity event every, I think it's in the wintertime, so keep an eye out for that. I also do Big League KO. It's off season right now, but Big League KO is their league format. It is a 8-person pool, and you basically do a round robin pool with 8 other players. It all first to fives. You run 2 matches a week over the course of 4 weeks, and then if you do well in pools, or sorry, in the round robin brackets, there's a postseason where you get to be in a single or in an elimination bracket, and then the finals are streamed on Urge to Fight, so you get to see that. It's a lot of fun. Very popular format. Registration fills up pretty quick. They're on off season right now, but yeah, pay attention to the Discord for that. Speaking of which, if you like what you saw here and want to do a training session like this, join the Fire Discord. Take a look under Sit Down and Shut Up. Under, I think it's called Level Up is the category. There is a pinned post in that channel with instructions on how to join and how to sign up and all that stuff. I'm also part of Newbie Fight Club. So Newbie Fight Club is a fighting and community focused on getting newer players into fighting games, mostly Street Fighter 6. If that's something you're interested in, take a look at that Discord. They do lobby nights every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They also do, I think it's a monthly now at this point that they do for tournaments on Sundays. They also used to do a modern only tournament. So take a look at the calendar of events for both of those Discords. I'm very active in both of these, so if you want to talk to me, get sus with me, chat with me, whatever, feel free to reach out to me in either of those. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good afternoon.